Hello, this is Sibbles and Bits, and we're here with InB4Blood, a series dedicated to discovery and discussion of Back 4 Blood in a post-beta, pre-launch state. We're here on FortHope.gg to talk about Holly. FortHope.gg is a community-made deck-building site that utilizes all the cards in the game so you can fiddle around with them, make custom decks, send them to your friends, and also just sort of get a good look at what you can do in the game. It is important to note that all these cards are using alpha statistics. In the beta these were changed, and they'll likely be changed even further when the base game comes out. Second thing to note, in this game, just because you are playing as a specific character, that character doesn't define you. Since all the power in this game is in your ability to choose 15 of these cards, you can do whatever you want. With that said, we're going to go ahead and talk about Holly. Holly's talent is that she recovers 10 stamina whenever she kills a ridden. We're going to go ahead and just pivot right straight into stamina. Stamina is the resource that you use to sprint, use melee attacks, and use a bash attack to get zombies off of you. While I'm talking about that, I will also state that you can bash while reloading and it will not interrupt your reload. So every time she kills a ridden, she's going to get 10 stamina back. 10 stamina is approximately how much stamina you're going to use to swing a melee weapon. So immediately you're looking at that passive, her 10% damage resistance, and the fact that she just gets so much more stamina, and you're thinking, okay, so I'm good with melee weapons. Melee means that I'm going to be up front. I'm going to be taking some damage. 10% damage resistance? Holly's the tank character. Yeah, you can definitely build into her like that, but she actually, like I said before, you can do anything with any character, but she has specific benefits due to these stats that other characters cannot do. First off, the 10% damage resistance. In this game, whenever an enemy attacks you and you take damage, you obviously reduce that amount of damage by your damage resistance, and then it rounds up. So at the start of the game, when a common ridden hits you, you're going to take 5 damage. 10% of that is 0.5, so it's going to round up. You're actually going to reduce 1 damage, and that's technically 20% damage reduction. So you're sitting here thinking, okay, so this is actually pretty good. It is, but it's not going to be enough. As the game goes on, enemies are going to get escalated with corruption cards. And eventually, common are going to start doing 10 plus damage, in which case you're back to that 10% damage resistance, but you've also got other enemies in the game. And bruisers are going to start hitting you for like 20 plus damage. Saving 10% damage isn't going to be enough. So you're going to have to start solving this with cards if you actually want to try and be tanky. Now, any problem in this game can generally be solved with 3 to 5 cards. We're just going to take 5 here, and with these 5 cards, you're going to have 80% damage resistance. It says 70 here. Again, the FortHope.gg isn't entirely accurate. It's not counting something here. It's even not counting her 10% damage resistance. Take my word for it, this is 80% damage resistance. So now, a common ridden hits you, a monstrous common ridden hits you for 10 damage. You're going to reduce 80%. You're going to take 2 damage. Makes sense, because that's how math works. Holly is going to reduce an additional damage because of her 10% damage resistance, so she's going to take half as much as somebody who has these cards. Also makes sense. The thing to stipulate here is that only taking 1 damage is very good, because of the way that the damage resistance works. Even if you manage to get 100% damage resistance, which it is easy, there's actually a lot of damage resistance across different sources. You can get over 100% damage resistance. Even if you get 100% damage resistance, for whatever reason, you still take 1 damage. We don't know why it works this way, but it does. And the only way to make sure that you don't take damage is to also take scarred tissue. Take -1 damage from all written. At this point, you've used 6 to 8 cards to make yourself immune to physical damage. Which is good, right? Not necessarily. So, I did specify physical damage, and maybe that's not the best way to describe it, but the reason I say that is because damage resistance isn't global. Damage resistance will not protect you against fire damage, acid damage, and explosion damage. And you're probably thinking, Bits, how are enemies in this game dealing fire and explosion damage? They do. On Nightmare difficulty, and assumedly really late in the game on Veteran difficulty, corruption cards are going to start turning common ridden into, we'll just call them uncommon ridden. They're basically the same enemy, but they have stats that make them particularly deadly. One of them makes them explode if they ever get headshot. One of them leaves acid pools whenever they're killed. One of them is on fire, and when they hit you, they will light you on fire. These uncommon ridden account for a huge spike of difficulty in Nightmare, and you're not protecting yourself against these. And as I stated before, some of them explode. They light you on fire if they manage to hit you. If you're thinking about being a frontline melee tank, you have to deal with that. And you've already used 8 of your cards to make yourself immune to physical damage, and you still have the same amount of health. Also important to note, you only start with 2 cards, so you're not even immune to physical damage at that point. So, if you can't even become immune to physical damage, is it worth the investment in damage resistance? That's for you to decide. But another thing you can do is leverage this damage resistance for other things. For instance, all of these cards down here. All of the cards that give the most insane damage boosts, generally about twice as much as other cards, come at a deficit. Now, all of these give -5% damage resistance. And you've got everything here. You can even make yourself even better at melee for just 5% of your damage resistance. Revive speed, you can be the person who saves everybody. Move speed, you can just run faster. Aim speed, you can pretend like you're playing Call of Duty. Fast ADS, running around, you've got the sprint for it. You can even take 40% stamina or sprint efficiency and run further or longer. Other characters, when they take this -5% damage resistance, they're going to use the round up and damage resistance against themselves. Instead of always mitigating 1 damage, they're always going to take 1 extra damage. Meanwhile, you take just 1 of those cards, you still got 5%, you're going to round up still take -1 damage. Another thing that I want to stipulate with Holly is the fact that this passive also affects grenades. There are events in this game where you have to go into an area in order to stop an unlimited horde that's coming down on you. Stamina is very helpful in that regard because so long as you've got stamina, you can run and you're going to get there faster. If you take a pipe bomb, throw the pipe bomb, start running towards the objective. By the time that pipe bomb explodes, you're probably out of stamina. All the ridden die. You get full stamina, you keep running. It's very niche because it can only be used in like 2 points in the beta as of right now, but in the base game this could become much more useful, and it solves a problem because stopping that event sooner is going to save your team more ammo and more health. And those are the two of the 3 primary resources of this game. Anyways, that's all I have to say about Holly. You might have stuff to say though. If you have any comments, clarifications, corrections you want to put down in the comments below, feel free. Otherwise, if you've got any crazy builds that you're planning to do with Holly, you can put those down in the comments below as well. Until then, I'll catch you with the next video.